We're live.
Oh, hello.
I'm Tasha Rose,
I'm Travis Apollo.
and you're watching Radical Mothering, but you know that because you're here
Thank you.
and you're subscribed
And you've even thumbs up this video.
already. Hit that thumbs up.
Thanks.
I am going to. I don't know why this is. Oh, because I'm using this stinking internet. Okay, I need this internet. That makes more sense. So we're going to give it a second, let you guys get here. And I'm going to log into the interwebs that we use. And I'm going to eat these Starburst things. Look at what I bought today.
Oh, thank you.
Minis and beans. Here's the minis.
It'll be good.
They're good. I got them at Target. I'm going to get the stream link here. It's not the Rona. It's allergies. Let's see here. I'm going to tweet this out here on Twitter. Go ahead and retweet this for us if you would. And we are live. Come chat with us, with me and Travis Apollo Hangy about discipline. Monday night chat is on now. Okay, I just tweeted it out. If you're on Twitter and you want to retweet that for me, I would certainly be grateful for you doing such. Sorry, my speech is so robotic right now. I am multitasking. So we're going to talk about discipline tonight. Discipline, Christian discipline. Is that my bedtime tea?
Yeah, your bedtime tea.
I like that bedtime tea.
The 90-night tea.
It's good tea. I'm gonna copy this. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, we're super boring when we're getting set up here. We just like to give you guys time to get here and get all this Twittering and Facebooking done so we can get you guys here. But it gives us a second. We can chit chat. How are you guys doing? Say hello in the chat. We want to say hi to you. Let us know you're here. We see that you're here. I don't know, up right here where my finger is on the live screen, it gives me a viewer count. Gives us a viewer count.
Yeah, one of them is me.
Oh.
One of them might be you.
One of them might be me.
So just to note that.
Well, there are 3 of us watching. So who's the third?
Okay. There we go.
Mrs. Casey's here. Hey. Hi, Molly. So we're going to give it just a minute. I got to put it one more place on Facebook.
Wow, you have a lot of places to put it. Okay.
Well, I put it on my main. I put it on the Radical Mothering, and I put it on Twitter.
That's what makes you a professional.
I guess. I mean, if this is a professional thing.
You know, I got an email about a user interview about professional podcasting. But it requires remote interviewing on podcasting, which is not something that has been done. So I didn't respond because it didn't apply.
Gotcha. But what does that mean? I don't.
Well, you have to, do like an interview with somebody.
Oh.
Video conferencing.
Okay.
For the podcast. That's what they're looking for. Which I know a lot of people that do that.
Hey, Rhiannon. Nice to see you.
Hi.
So we are going to discuss discipline, and I'll set this up for you because I love it, Molly. You're just promoting us all over Twitter. Thank you. We were discussing Divine Mercy Sunday yesterday, and we don't hold the devotion. I did for a while, and then I did some reading, and we're not going to make this a Divine Mercy discussion because that's not, I don't want to go into those waters on this channel. Well, we don't observe it or practice the devotion, but we were discussing the concept of discipline within the context of the Divine Mercy chaplet and devotion. And the conversation evolved to the discussion about how men need, and this is Travis, I didn't say it, men need more discipline than women seem to. And it made me think about, there's this thing I shared on Facebook the other day about how women don't get to go to the mountaintop to meet God, but God comes to where we are because we can't leave the babies and we can't leave the garden and we can't leave the kitchen because everybody has to eat and the babies always need to be nursed or changed and the garden needs to be weeded and the grocery shopping has to be done. So we have all of these things that we have to do to run the family life. So God comes to us. And there are plenty of examples of that within scripture as well. So we kind of talked about that and we just jumped off from there about discipline and the difference between discipline, the difference between men and women with regard to discipline.
Right. And the reason that was related to Divine Mercy at all is because the conversation about Divine Mercy was about more so looking at mercy as, in my opinion, the prayer for mercy that I have would be for God to exercise mercy on others, or for others, not necessarily for myself. I feel called to have a penitential heart and to offer whatever penance is necessary for my transgressions. And I not that I believe that there's, I mean, of course I require the Lord's mercy because there's nothing that I could ever do to warrant the blessings that God has given and may give in the future. There's nothing I can do to actually deserve that, to deserve salvation. But that's not the point. Even though mercy is there and abundant, I still need to practice penitence, and that's where the idea of discipline came into the conversation, is about that discipline and that penitence that I need to be observing. And then the other part that kind of tied it in too was because of that idea of practicing disciplines. Okay, we're out of the octave of Easter now, and that was where that came in. So Sunday was the last day of the octave of Easter. Now it's Monday. We're out of that feasting celebration, the solemnity of the octave. We are still in the season of Easter, so it's still, to be celebrated. But I feel a call to return to a little bit more of that penitence and the active disciplines that are more reminiscent of Lent. And I think that's not only is it just generally appropriate and reasonable on a normal schedule, but it's also really helpful for me, particularly as a man, being that it's well known. I mean, any man who takes a thorough self-evaluation is going to feel a understanding with self-concupiscence, with concupiscence in general, and that inclination towards sin that is so abundant. And it's not that women don't have the similar concupiscent inclinations, but it's definitely, I mean, go around and survey, 100 men and 100 women, and you'll find that men are going to be more inclined towards the sin, and that's just a general understanding.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe some of the more I don't want to say that though, because I mean, I think women do too, but I think that women, and I guess I can only speak for myself because I'm not in the confessional with other women, but we have we sin in really different ways, you know, like we, at least I do. I mean, I don't know how many times I've confessed to screaming at my kids too much, you know, and letting anger and frustration build and come out at them, you know. So it's stuff like that that I think that we might be more prone to. I mean, I guess I don't know what you're thinking when you.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess it's different. I mean, I hear that and I hear, yeah, I mean, life gets tough and, maybe we, make a mistake or something, but when it comes to more of the indulgences, that would be, I think, what I'm more speaking of.
Oh, that's right. We had
the
that.
seeking of comfort.
Yeah, we
right?
had that sins of the flesh
Mm-hmm.
were a little bit. Yeah, and I mean, I fall victim to that too. More, it's like laziness or eating too many sweets or, not wanting to be in my routine. But yeah, I mean,
Well, and I mean, then along those same lines too, and a part of what I was investigating and exploring well before Lent was the idea that the uh, the drive that I have to seek comfort is um, it's not necessarily out of the ordinary, but it is a distraction and a disruption to who I'm called to be as a man, as a father, as a husband.
Right. And you talked about that during Lent too. And
Right.
you were talking about it with regard to Daggery, like pushing him to be uncomfortable, not turning on the seat heater in the Volvo or staying out in the cold a little bit longer. Even, I mean, when he's not going to get hurt, don't maybe call CPS. It's not too cold. We didn't even have a cold snap this summer or this winter. It was ridiculous.
I mean, it wasn't nearly as cold, I guess, as last year. But
right. But pushing him just to like push himself past those moments of discomfort where he's just like, oh, well, I guess I'm hungry. I'm going to go and see what I can forage out of the refrigerator when mom's not looking, or.
Which he still has done, but
Right.
he's more cognizant of it.
Right.
And that's important. Yeah, it's been good. I mean, today he was out there, shoveling the mulch and moving mulch, and he was feeling like really in the groove, and he was like, yeah, I really think I can, really make a big deal here. And he said, I've got my guardian angel helping me and all that. And I mean, it's good. And so he's really taking that kind of stuff seriously. When he feels called to, and when he's more in the spirit, that's good.
Yeah, yesterday it was pulling hen's teeth to get him to do anything, like
Sure.
to get him to help get the leaves and stuff out of the way that we needed to move for the mulch to go where the leaves were.
Right, and that'll happen. But I think that the idea of discipline is definitely really important, and for me, I feel really called to practice more of that discipline and that orderliness, and it's just really important. And so practicing more of that penitence. And I don't feel called to go climb up a mountain necessarily, but exercising that discipline a little bit more strenuously and a little bit more consistently is really important. And that's something that, I mean, just kind of looking back, this is something I've been reflecting on a bit too over this last week. Looking back, before coming into Lent this year, I wouldn't have sought that. And it's not that there haven't been plenty of times in the past when, I would say, well, I'm going to try not to indulge in this and this and this kind of thing, because I've generally liked that kind of idea in the past, but it's not the same purpose and it's not the same reason. And while I might be saying, okay, well, I'm not going to, go around eating a bunch of chocolate because I know if I do, then the chocolate is going to cause my, face to get more oily and I might get acne, and that's bothersome or whatever. It would be like more just kind of that thing. But while I wasn't, doing that because of the practical reason of not wanting acne, I would be indulging in something that was, in some other way unhelpful for my, whatever my station in life would be, or my purpose. And it was always really easy to get distracted from important things. And
well, I think a really good example of that is watching shows at bedtime.
Yeah.
So Travis did the Exodus 90, and part of that was not watching shows at all. So because I go to bed with them, I wasn't watching shows either anymore. And I've grown to really appreciate going to bed, because we've gotten into that routine now. We actually watched Unplanned last night, and we're actually going to do a video review on that.
It was 2 nights ago.
Right.
Well, I watched it. You watched half of it.
Right, because I fell asleep. Spoiler alert, our review is not going to be a good one. But look for it. Anyways. So we were watching it, and I was just like, I was bored by the movie, and I was not even like interested enough in watching a show to stay awake for it.
Sure.
So I fell asleep with the baby. And
I was, even though it's been, a few months since we've actually sat and watched a show at bedtime, but I was interested enough in indulging in watching a show.
Sure. But how many times have, like, forever did we watch shows and be like, okay, one more episode. I mean, even something like Green Acres, wholesome shows were just like, we're going to watch 12 episodes on a Saturday night.
Consistently, you would be the one who would fall asleep much quicker than me.
Right, because I get bored. I get bored with it.
And I want to indulge.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's like, I don't know what I'm looking for. Like, I'm thinking, okay, well, at some point this is going to, somehow become satisfying or fulfilling or something. Right. And that's just, it's that weird looking for fulfillment kind of phenomenon. And I know where my fulfillment comes from in the Lord, but it's just, there's that inclination to look for it in other places and to think that I might find it elsewhere.
And that was the first night that we ever watched, that we watched anything in 3 months at bedtime. And most of the time, he's just reading and I'm flipping through Pinterest, adding things to my garden ideas, That's what I do at bedtime. That's how I decompress at night.
The reading has been really helpful. I've got a few specific books that I've been reading through, and it's all actually part of developing my prayer practice. Has been really important, and it's been pretty nice to have that as part of it. That's great, Mrs. Casey. Yeah, avoiding that TV as a kind of a newfound adventure, and togetherness. I think that's been. And we've talked about in the past too that it can be a little bit distracting and a little bit of a there's not as much togetherness when it comes to watching a show together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because like I just said, I get bored, and so I'll pull my phone out and I'll be like, I guess I just want to look at Pinterest instead of watching whatever show we're watching. Right. So we're not even going to engage. Although Green Acres is pretty funny, and I didn't ever go on Pinterest when I'm watching Green Acres because it's hilarious.
And the episodes are short enough; they don't take up a whole bunch of time or anything, and you get it's kind of fun. But and
Mrs. Casey says even just relaxing seems more productive. I agree. I'll just say last night we went to bed pretty early. Well, you went to sleep later than I did, but we were both in bed, and Cecilia and I fell asleep pretty early, like 9:30?
Right. Well, I had my exercising to do as well, so not just some reading, but also the exercising, because that's part of the discipline that I've been practicing. And it was, I maybe exercised a couple of times last week, but I really kind of took a break and I relaxed and feasted for the week. But I really felt good getting back into it again last night and really being ready to just continue on with that, because it's been important. And it's something that I've been talking about it for years. Anytime I talk to anybody about exercise, it's like, I've been really lucky not to have to, need to do any exercise.
I'm getting older. I should probably think about doing something.
Never put on a bunch of weight or anything, but I should figure something out at some point.
Years he's said that. He's not lying. It's ridiculous. For years.
But it's been good, and it's just just simple exercise at home, and I don't know, we'll see how it goes. It's been a few months, and it's good, and so I feel pretty good about doing that. I'd like to do more bike riding, but that just seems like too much of a time commitment and the right time and all of that.
He also always says that and has for years. I enjoyed going, resting last night and going to sleep early. And allergies and Cecilia woke me up at about 4:30 this morning. I just laid in bed and I relaxed in bed till 6, I think, and then I got up and took a shower. But that felt like it was productivity for the start of my day. Because I got to lay there with Cecilia, say some prayers, wake up, stretch my body. And then I got up and I was super productive today, And I think that having that thought time really as a discipline is really, really important. Thought and prayer time. And I wanted to make a mention because the word discipline comes up a lot. And a lot of people have negative connotations about that, especially when you talk about children and discipline. And we don't hit our children. We don't spank. We yell sometimes, which is wrong, and we shouldn't do it. And it's really frustrating sometimes. Um, but it all comes down to discipline. And people, when you get into these conversations about disciplining your children, people automatically correlate hitting your kids to discipline. And those are not, discipline means make a disciple of. And so you develop these habits and you develop these methods of being that give you the balance that you need and give you the values and the virtue that you need to become a disciple of Jesus, for children to become disciples of their parents. You know, that's what that word means. And so to develop these habits and to strive towards virtue is really important. And you can't do that with children. You can't do that by berating them and hitting them and screaming at them. It just doesn't work. And so it doesn't work for you either. So if you, you know, all that negative self-talk that we get up to, and I get up to it a lot. I'm really bad about negative self-talk, and I'll do it to myself. And he yelled at me the other day about it too. He was like, "You guys swore," and you're like, "Did you just shut up?" But you used a word. He did, because he was mad at me because I was talking badly about his wife, you know, and you know, there's these things, and I suffered of anorexia, and so I've got, you know, these things in my brain that sometimes it comes to the front, and I talk badly about myself. I don't actually think badly about myself, but it just comes out sometimes because it's like in a moment you feel defeated. Um, so, you know, develop, that's what I like about, that's what I was going to go with this. This is what I like about the season that we're in now too, with, you know, the season of the year, because this is the time of year that I do like getting up really early, and I can get up early a lot easier too than I can in the wintertime. And I can get up and I can get the day started before anybody gets up, and I can go on a walk all before anybody gets up out of bed, you know, and I'll go for a walk and I'll be home and I'll make breakfast and we'll drink coffee, and then the baby will wake up, and then the day starts and everybody starts waking up. And that becomes a rhythm and discipleship for everybody too, I think.
Right. Yeah. And with that level of discipline and practicing discipline too, one thing that I've found that's important is that reflection. And I mean, I've practiced that at different times in life too. But the mindfulness and the practice of paying attention and being mindful. Well, that doesn't just happen, you know, all of a sudden because, you know, I want to be mindful. You know, it happens as a practice discipline, and it's
Right.
the most constructive way to build that up is doing a nightly review of the day, you know, and how have I been, you know, towards myself, towards others, you know, what did I do well, what did I not do well, what can I plan to do better next time I have an opportunity, and you know, just doing that on a regular basis really gets that routine in. And I kind of read through it's actually a couple of different guides on that and as how to do it, and that's really like my review. I kind of read, okay, we think about these things as we go, and then it just, okay, so I think about those things, and I only spend, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 minutes or something doing it real quick. It's not, I mean, I was there, you know, all day, so I know what happened. And then, you know, if there's anything specific that I need to maybe pray on or reflect on a little bit more, maybe I'll spend some time doing it. But for the most part, that's really helpful. But you know, it's not meant to be like a beat myself up at the end of the day thing. But what that does is it just kind of it reinforces the mind to, you know, overnight think about what are the things that I'm going to work on doing better the next time something comes up, and it really works. It makes a big difference. And you know, even just, you know, after a week of doing it, well, a couple of weeks maybe, you know, I've noticed that it really gets a lot of change. And I mean, I've been doing it for the last few months a little bit more regularly, but when I stopped doing it, things start to get a little bit more hectic. And I'm not quite as, I would say, not quite as in tune with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. I mean, that's really, that's what I would say that really helps with, is that openness and top of mindedness for God's, you know, a plan for me on a moment to moment basis, and being more in tune for that. It just helps me stay calmer throughout the day. So that's really important. So I mentioned that because you were being reflective on some of things that you wish you wouldn't have, you know, been on yourself about.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just a matter of the negative self-talk, how that doesn't work in building discipleship.
Right.
It just doesn't work. Because if I'm I gotta readjust myself here. If I'm spending time talking badly about myself to myself, I'm not taking those worries to God too. Like, really, that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's relying on myself when I shouldn't be. And if I have this moment of, oh, well, I think I'm still carrying too much weight from having Cecilia, and I feel bad about myself for it, instead of being rational about it, the fact that she's still breastfeeding like crazy, kid drains me dry every day, and I have to eat a lot right now, and that's what my body's supposed to be doing, and then praying about it in conjunction with the rational thinking about it, then I'm not going to have all of that negative self-talk. And that's why I can say confidently, yeah, I don't really feel that way about myself, because rationally I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm healthy. I stay very active. I mean, gardening is not easy work.
Right.
It's really hard, especially with everything that we've got going on right now that I'm working on putting together for our little, I guess, urban homestead. That's what I'm going to call it. My urban farm.
Yeah, check it out. Watch for the videos coming out.
But no, I mean, it's important to listen for the Holy Spirit rather than that negative self-doubt and self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I mean, I think it really is, it's a lot about discipline. And I mean, I've been learning a lot about that and growing a lot about that, over the last year, and just really paying more attention to trying to have these regular practices that keep things moving along, and moving in the right direction, and getting, more in tune with what's supposed to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, there was, I spent quite a bit of time really feeling lost, and not knowing where that fulfillment is supposed to come from, not having a relationship with God, and not having that confidence in Christ and in faith. And that's like, without that, it just, I mean, a person could get by, but it's just so much easier when there's that component of faith and fulfillment in knowing that I'm living for the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the biggest thing. It's the biggest difference. And I mean, that had really, I'd come into a pretty clear understanding of that even last year, after, or leading up to the baptism. Like, I knew this is what's, driving me, and this is what's going to continue to drive me, and it still is. That faith is still there, really strong. And it's not. I had a conversation with Doug from the RCIA class, who was one of the adult learners, who's he was a convert from 3 or 4 years ago or something. The what was Pentecostal. He was raised Pentecostal. But I talked to him today, and he, we had a conversation about quite a bit of stuff. But one of the things that came up in that conversation, I just lost my train of thought.
We were talking to Doug.
Yes. And what were we talking about?
Your what's driving you and motivating you, the Holy Spirit, that you hadn't sought that before in your life, and now you know that that's what your direction is, and living for God.
Right. I'm just feeling really driven like that. I can't remember what it was that came up in the conversation. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about the current events. Oh, that was what it was. Okay, so even this period of separation that we have from the Eucharist, and from being able to go to Mass in person and participate in that way, and feel connected with our other friends in faith and everything, as much. So even with this period of separation, I don't feel lost in that faith, and in that clarity of mission, of being being disciplined for God, being disciplined by God, right? That's really what it's about, and I'm not losing sight of that even in this period. I don't know how much of a real problem that necessarily is, but I guess I assume for many it might be an issue. I don't know if you've seen much conversation about that.
Well, I mean, I have. There was a couple of, I mean, when this whole thing started in the middle of Lent and everybody was not all of a sudden not going to mass anymore, there were a couple of Twitter Catholics who kind of went off the deep end, and they went like berserk.
Mm-hmm.
And a few, a couple of the people I'm talking about, I'm sure if you're watching Twitter, Catholic Twitter people, um, just went completely off the rails and succumbed to fear and started saying things to people that were not at all anything that a Catholic should be saying to people. Um, I mean, it was just crazy. So I have seen it, at least on social media. Obviously, not in our personal circles. I'm sure, I would have said something to you about it. But
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that I've worried about is people just kind of going off the deep end, or even the people who were coming into the church who didn't get to.
Right.
We were anticipating seeing some people during the St. Agnes confirmation that we didn't see on the live stream of Vigil Mass, and so I'm worrying about those people now.
Right.
And it's like this whole thing has really shaken so many people, and has it shaken the faith of enough Catholics? And is this a wheat and chaff kind of thing that's happening? Is this a chastisement where there's some shaking going on and separating the wheat and the chaff, and who's the Catholic faithful? And there are so many questions that revolve around all of this, both physical and spiritual, and it's
Yeah, and that's it's thinking about that. I mean, it's almost as lamentable to have that thought, that notion that maybe there's a separation, maybe there's a filtering out the wheat and the chaff or something. It's almost as lamentable as the idea that, like, well, we're grateful that here we are, not sick, not dying, but there are those who are sick and who are dying right now too. And I mean, it is crazy. And that's almost the same thought. And it's really sad to think about that. And it, and it's uncomfortably humbling, I think, in a way. It's uncomfortably humbling to feel both physically and bodily, as well as spiritually, healthy and fit right now when there's so much trouble going on. I mean, and not to be ungrateful. I mean, obviously very, very grateful. But then that's where that notion of begging for mercy comes in. Is, I mean, this is really scary from a lot of different fronts and a lot of different ways. And I mean, I don't know, I don't know God's plan. I don't know God's, heart. I don't know God's, mission, but I know that it's difficult, and I would pray for the mercy, for everyone suffering, spiritually, physically, and in every way. But obviously that will be done. I don't know, but what can we do? We can pray. We can keep doing what we're supposed to do, but there's, like, it's really difficult. There's not a lot of direction.
well, I mean, we commit to, well, at least I think so. We commit to the corporal acts of mercy that we can do, So keep doing the things that we have been doing, and getting involved where we can, how we can help.
Well, part of me has thought, like, in the back of my mind, okay, if there's some kind of a chastisement happening, then, like, I don't know, maybe the most useful thing that we can do is to, like, try even harder to be evangelizers, evangelizing, to share the gospel, to spread the gospel, and to win souls for Jesus. But I mean, that can be an uncomfortable thought.
Well, it's an uncomfortable thought because it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with people. I mean, there's a few people that I have it regularly with who I'm constantly praying for these people, and I'm constantly seeing changes in these people, and I'm just like, come Holy Spirit, with these people, because it's not these people, it's the Holy Spirit that has work on them, So I'm just like constantly praying for these people and watching them changing and watching them ask the questions that they need to ask, and and being there to be a sounding board if they need anything or whatever. I think that's what we can do in this time, in addition to, well, I mean, that's probably a corporal work of mercy too. Is that, I mean, that's a spiritual work rather, admonishing the sinner. Like that's part of admonishing the sinner is built into evangelization. It's the go and sin no more. This is a sin. I love you. I want to help you through it so that you're not doing this anymore.
Right.
And here's how. you know, and you don't even have to make 4 easy payments of anything because God's grace is free.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you still have to do some work for it because you have to. I mean, there's not just I wonder if that falls into quietism, heresy quietism, because you can't just like pray. It's like pray it away,
Right.
You have to do. It's faith and works.
It is. And I do want to point out, and it's not that there aren't, really good, sorts of.
Mrs. Casey's laughing at my payments.
Well, right.
I know what she's laughing at.
Well, and it's not that there aren't, some good sorts of resources you might be able to find that have subscription basis, but in general, it's that's not the point, and that's probably not where you're gonna really find what you're doing. Although Exodus 90 does have a subscription plan if you want to continue beyond a certain period of time to use their platform. It's a pretty good platform, and if you build in the disciplines, overall, I think it's a worthwhile thing, but. Anyways,
he's not being paid by Exodus 90, just to put that out there.
No, and they don't offer, like, I kind of wish that they offered referral stuff, because like you get a group of guys together and you got a bunch of guys signing up, so that would be convenient to help offset your commitment or something. But then I guess
then it wouldn't really be a sacrifice though, would it, Travis?
No, it's not. But then also you're called to avoid frivolous spending, so if you're following disciplines altogether, you're saving quite a bit of money, so that's good. But and I mean, to be able to have a fellowship plan, I mean, you want to have regular fellowship with other guys. You gotta go out somewhere and have coffees and stuff like that or something. So anyways, that's a really great meeting place for that virtual everything. But no, I think that having those practicing the works of mercy and practicing prayer and being more outspoken about it is really important too. And it's something that I've been trying to think about, a little bit more, and being just a little bit more confident in that. And I mean, I never shy away from necessarily talking about it, when it comes up. But yeah, it just doesn't come up that much. And I think that, there are louder ways. I don't know, like we're on YouTube, so
that's pretty loud.
People can see us, but yeah, it is.
We're getting louder.
I don't know. yeah, so that's good. But we just keep going, and I mean, we just have to keep praying, because we don't know what's supposed to happen. And I think right now there is a lot of uncertainty, and it's not just about like what's going to happen, but it's easy to, like, if I think too much about it, it's easy to feel like maybe I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like I don't know. How do we know? If following all the the rules and the orders and the directives and the guidance and the suggestions and all that is necessarily appropriate, or if somehow it's actually not appropriate. Then I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, and it's difficult. So here we sit.
Right. You never said it would be easy.
Yeah.
I think we covered that. We covered it in less than 45 minutes. That was right. So now I want to talk about the garden, just for a minute.
Oh, you sure you want to get into that right now?
Just for a minute.
You sure?
Yeah. We're doing
We've only got like 2 minutes.
It's fine. We've got 6 minutes.
No, it's 4.
We're doing a week in the life video. It was the children's idea. Gabriel said, Mrs. Casey agrees with me. Yes, garden. We're going to talk about a garden.
All right.
We're doing a week in the life video, and I'm kind of covering the garden and our progress with it, but it's coming together. So my seeds are, if you follow on Instagram, I'm kind of updating on our seed situation. Everything's germinating. Like, I have not gotten any failure yet in the germination, and I'm so excited about it. I just put some planting pots together today to put strawberries out tomorrow. I think I'm going to do strawberries in a big humongous pot that I found. I actually found it for free today. I just missed chicken coop supplies, some wood and whatnot to build a chicken coop, and I'm really bummed about that. But it's gonna happen. So just watch for the week in the life at the end of the week here. I think I'll post it Saturday night. And then let me think. Thursday night, I'm getting together on Zoom. We're recording a Zoom call with me and a whole bunch of other Catholic YouTube women, and we're going to talk about life under quarantine and quarantine Catholics.
A whole bunch?
A whole bunch. I think there's like 6 or something. There's a few of us. Okay. We're going to be on this whole Zoom call that's going to be recorded with all of us.
I was going to say, if it's like more than 10 or something, it gets really difficult to hold a conversation.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. So it's going to be, well, I'll fill you in later on this week who it's going to be with, but it's some exciting people, ladies who I super duper enjoy, and you'll have an opportunity to like and subscribe all of their stuff too on Thursday or Friday. I don't know if it'll go up on Thursday, but the call is happening on Thursday. And then I'm not going to name who, but we have an amazing viewer and friend who sent us, I don't know if you can see how shiny we are lit up, and watch, it does this. Oh, changes color, more changes in color. A friend and viewer purchased for us a ring light that also holds the phone right there in front of us.
It seems very professional.
It does. It's like totally professional.
I can look straight, and it seems pretty good.
It's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. It's so neat. And the our teenagers were trying to do funny videos in front of it at one point when we first pulled it out of the boxes. And it's funny because the box came on Easter. Was it on Easter?
It was Saturday.
Oh, it was Saturday. That's right. It was. Was it?
So I don't know.
Well, it was last weekend, and the box came and it was addressed to me, and I was like, I didn't order anything from Amazon. And Travis is like, I didn't order anything either. And I was like, you're fibbing. I thought it was him. And so he goes, had a sticker on it that said lithium ion batteries. And he's like, it's a bomb. Don't open it. I was like, you're such a dork. Nobody's mailing us a bomb. I'm not that hated in this city. Come on.
Sure, right.
So he carries it upstairs and he brings it into the bedroom, and he's like, he ushers all the children out. And I'm just like, this is him. It's got to be him. Because
I looked up on Amazon. I hadn't ordered anything.
And I hadn't ordered anything either. So we open it up, and it's this amazing gift from this viewer. And I was convinced it was him. I was like, because there was no note or anything in it. And he's like, no, it wasn't me. And I was like,
I wouldn't have let her open it if I had got it for it. I wouldn't have just it would have been totally different. And also, it's not Mother's Day yet. I wouldn't just randomly give it to you.
That's true. That's why I was so baffled. Yeah, I'm like, he doesn't randomly give me presents like that because he's like, we don't do that, So, I mean, that's not how we are. So I was totally confused. But then we found out who sent it, and it was so sweet. And I cried, and I was just like, this is amazing. So much gratitude. And it was so funny. It's a bomb. And he's like, he brings up, he's like, don't blow up the house. He took all the children out with him. Don't blow up the house. It was funny.
I didn't have them leave the room because I thought it was a bomb, but I didn't know what it was. They didn't need to know.
Right.
Unless you decided they should.
But it was funny anyway, so.
Yeah, it was fun.
I just wanted to share that story.
All right. Well, good. So watch for lots of upcoming videos. Something with other YouTube ladies.
A couple videos this week.
Gardening on Saturday.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You want to Pater Noster us out of here?
Pater Noster.
Oh, we're going to sing it.
Quies in Chales. Oh, Nomini Patris. Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Pater Noster, quies in Chales.
Sanctificetur nomen tuum. Adveniat regnum tuum. Fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen.
Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus
Sancti.
Sancti.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thumbs up, subscribe.